Hey there guys, my name is EarthToLydia and welcome back to another Dead by Daylight Should You Buy installment. As we just recently went over Nancy, today I'm going to be going over Steve Harrington, which is the other survivor included in the Stranger Things DLC. For those of you that haven't seen that, I will be linking it down below, and also let me go over the format for anybody that's not seen one of these videos before. As you'll know, there isn't an awful lot of difference between each of the survivors. The only thing that they really have going for themselves are teachable perks which can be unlocked on other characters, and slightly different character models, which can either help or hinder them. So in this series, we go over the character model and how easy it makes them to track, the teachable perks and which kind of builds that you can use them in, and overall which kind of playstyle these characters will see the most benefit in. But before we get into it, for those of you that don't know, I'm a full-time Dead by Daylight streamer over on Twitch, so you can catch me there 5 days a week at twitch.tv/EarthToLydia. Feel free to ask me any questions on these videos or anything else, or just come along and have a chat and hang out. Anyway, let's get into it. As with virtually all of the other male survivors in the game, Steve has a taller character model and an average physique. Almost all of Steve's clothes are made up of very muted tones, a mix of blues and greens, but with a couple of exceptions in the store. This does make him one of the easier males to hide as if you're using his default cosmetics, but his voice lines are a little bit different. In my stream, we call him Mr. Lowercase Scream. Well, for obvious reasons. He does have a more shrill voice compared to virtually all of the other male characters. However, when he's in pain, for some reason, he seems just a little bit quieter. For example, if you put him next to Jeff, you're probably more likely to hear the Jeff than you are Steve. So generally speaking, you should probably have a fair bit of knowledge of being able to hide, but also loop at the same time if you're trying to play Steve, as he doesn't quite lean one way over the other. Next up, we're going to be going over his teachable perks. At level 30 in Steve's Blood Web, we're unable to lock Babysitter. Babysitter makes it so that when you unhook a survivor, the unhooked survivor leaves no scratch marks or blood trails for up to 8 seconds, depending on the perk's tier. You also see the killer's aura, and the killer will see your aura for 4 seconds. So this perk makes you a little bit of a diversion and kind of discourages the killer from tunneling the person that's just come off the hook, as it's going to make them a little bit harder to track. Also, the fact that the killer can see your aura is kind of like a red flag to a bull, so you're probably going to want to run this perk if you're quite confident in looping, but also make some altruistic plays. So if you want to detract the killer from going after your teammate and go after you instead, this is the perk for you. I will keep in mind it's not the strongest perk, and it's also not going to guarantee that the killer isn't going to go after your teammate. Ideally, the survivor you're unhooking is probably going to want to have to be running Iron Will, and also have some line of sight breaks to get away. Camaraderie unlocks at level 35 in the Blood Web, and when you're on your second hook stage, so that is the struggle phase on hook, Camaraderie will activate, and any survivor in a 60-meter radius of your hook will pause the struggle timer for up to an additional 34 seconds. So what this means is if you've got a particularly difficult killer that you're dealing with that's camping the hook, for example maybe a Myers in tier 3, or maybe a Huntress that has some hatchets left, this will buy your teammates some extra time so that they can more safely make the hook rescue. It could also be that your teammates aren't fully healed and they want to get to full health before they go in and make a borrowed time save, but this will buy you some extra time. Also, it's probably not the worst solo queue perk. You're probably going to see the most use out of this if you're in a survivor friends group and where you can communicate the danger and what's happening around the hook, and then your teammates can coordinate. One of them can hide around the hook, get you some extra time, and then everybody can escape. Or they can attempt it at least. At level 40, we unlock Second Wind. To activate this perk, you need to heal a full health state of another survivor. Then the next time that you are unhooked, you will gain the broken status effect, and after a minimum of 20 seconds, you will completely heal 1 health state. This could be while a killer's chasing you, so long as you're able to loop them for 20 seconds, but if you're used to either taking the aggro or trying to save time on healing so that you can help your other teammates and be more altruistic, then this is a pretty decent perk for you. You need to keep in mind though that this will not activate if you are already suffering from the broken status effect, so you can't combine this with Deliverance and unhook yourself. I actually think this is a quite underrated healing perk, and if you're confident that you can run a killer long enough to see benefit out of it regularly, then I'd highly recommend running this perk. So who is going to see the most benefit out of Steve? Personally, I think his perks and his model and everything else will be slightly slightly a little bit more geared towards people who have more experience in the game. And also, I think you'll really see benefit out of his perks if you regularly play with friends. Even if it's only 1 or 2 others, if you can communicate to let them know when you're going to be running Camaraderie, Babysitter, and Second Wind, there is a much higher likelihood that you'll be able to get these perks to work. That doesn't mean that they can't run well on their own. I do think they're all pretty decent perks, but you do need to already have quite a bit of substantial knowledge in the game. Like, for example, Second Wind isn't going to activate at all if you can't find a survivor early on to get a health state out of. And if you're playing solo, particularly at lower ranks, other survivors are going to be a little bit more scared to make an unhook, so you might not see any use out of Camaraderie. None of his perks are, I think, game-changing, but they can be strong enough in their own right. And they're very fun to pair with other perks in the game as well. Anyway, if you are a Steve main or you have anything else to sell him on, be sure to leave those ideas in the comments. And if you like this video, I would really appreciate if you subscribed. Anyway, that is all I have for this one video. I want to thank you all so much for making it this far in. As always, my socials are in the description, so if you don't know what I'm doing over here, feel free to follow me over there. Or join our Discord server where you can meet other people who also play the game and have other ideas. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and until next time, take care guys.